Hi guys, in this video we are going to create a Django form with the use of materialize CSS. So what we are going to do is to create a form where we can put in some music preferences. I'm going to put in my name and I'm going to put a last name, just a letter, and over here I'm going to put in some bio, and then I'm going to specify the songs that I like, and I'm going to put some date, and I can check if the preferences are active or not and simply send them. We have an information that it has been saved successfully, and also if something goes wrong, for example I put the name too short or the bio too short, we are going to get a validation error. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. Send, and oops, something went wrong. Alright guys, so this is something that we will do in this video. Alright guys, so before we jump into coding, let's have a short overview on what have I created so far. So first of all, I installed two apps. The first one is songs and the second one is preferences. Both of those applications have been added to the installed apps. Then I also defined the additional folder for the templates, so Django will know where to look for it. And this templates folder has been created already by me. And I also added base HTML, which is currently empty, and we will fill it out in just a second. We won't be using any media or static files, so I haven't done any settings over here. Okay, so basically this is it. What we need to do right now is to handle this base HTML. So yeah, this is something that we will do in just a second, but for now let's jump to Pyplane.com. This is my blog. Let's go to the blog section and let's find social network project in Django. By the way, this is a free course available on YouTube on my channel. So let's just borrow some code from here and we will slightly adjust it. So first of all, I'm going to delete this load static tag, and yeah, we won't be using semantic UI for sure. This BFF book can be form materialize project, something like this. And block content is okay, but we don't need this UI class, so let's delete it. And yeah, just delete those comments as well over here. Alright, so now we have a base HTML ready. This is the template which other templates will inherit from. However, in this project we will have only one template in the preferences application. But in case if you would like to practice some more on your own with this project, let's do it the right way. So with the use of template inheritance. Alright, so now this is set up, so let's jump back into GitHub, and we need to find, you can type in the same way as I did, materialize CSS Django, and then let's find the github.com Kyle Waltken Django materialize CSS form. So this is the package that we will be using. This is a third-party package which works simply great. So over here we have some installation steps that we will follow. So first of all, let's install this package. Let's bring it to the terminal. I'm going to quit the server from running and install it. Alright, so now it's installed and we can simply grab the materialize CSS form. We need to add it to the installed apps. So going to settings PY, let's put it over here. Okay, and let's save this. The next steps are defined for adding CSS and JavaScript. So what I'm going to do is to add this block CSS to our base HTML. So in the head section, let's add it over here, block CSS. And then for the JavaScript, we have block JavaScript over here. I'm just going to use this block scripts, okay? So yeah, and finally we will have to load materialize CSS and use this materialize CSS template tag for the form, but we don't have the form just yet, so let's move on. The next step is to save this base HTML, and we need to create some models. So let's start from the songs. Let's define a class. Let's call it song, which inherits from models.model, and the fields will be the name of the song and the artist. Artist, like this. Alright, so both of those fields are just going to be ordinary char fields with the max length of 200. I'm just going to copy this, put it below, and then the string representation method will take in, of course, self, and then we will return self. What will go first? Self artist, and then self name. Okay, so we can actually, let's make it a dash. We can save this, and we need to register this model so we can see it in our admin. Okay, so over here from dot models import song and admin site register song. Okay, so let's save it, and now if we go to the admin, hit refresh. Okay, we need to be sure that the server is running. Python manage py run server is the command for this. And where am I? I'm at the source, so I might have made a typo. Python manage py run server. Alright, now everything is working, so I'm going to refresh. And here are our songs. So maybe let's add a few. So I'm just going to put in song 1, artist 1, and I'm going to save and add another one. No such table songs. Of course, we forgot about doing the migration, so Python manage py make migrations, Python manage py migrate, Python manage py run server. Okay, so now we have the tables in the database and we can save our objects. So one more time, I'm just going to refresh this, and song 1, artist 1, save and add another one. Okay, and then we're going to do song 2 and then artist 2, and again save and add another one, and song 3 and artist 3, save, and here are our songs. Alright guys, so this is for the songs. Let's take care of the preferences. So again, let's begin from the models, then we will create a form, and we will also need to provide a template and of course a view. So let's begin from the models. So let's write class preference, and this inherits from models.model. And what are going to be the fields? First of all, we are going to have a user, and this is going to be a foreign key, and then we will have a first name. If we have a first name, maybe it's good to provide the last name. And let's also add a bio. This might be interesting because we are going to deal with a text box. And then let's add the songs. So the songs are going to be a many-to-many field, so you can see also how this works in the materialize CSS framework. And I would also like to add a date, so you can see how wonderful date fields are in materialize CSS. But I'm not sure how to name this. I'm just going to put in some date, okay? And then let's also have active, so if the preference is active or not, and this is just going to be a Boolean field. Okay, so I'm going to start with the user, and as mentioned before, this is going to be foreign key to the user, and we don't have the user, so we need to import it from Django contrib auth, and then models import user. Okay, so we can grab this user, and we can put it over here, and then on delete will be models cascade. So every time a user gets deleted, a preference gets deleted as well. Preference. All right. Then we have the first name, and this is going to be just an ordinary char field. Let's put in max length 200. And let's copy this and put it also for the last name. So now we have first name, last name, and the bio will be a text field. So let's put down text field. And then the songs will be, as mentioned before, a many-to-many field. And we need to import the songs. So from songs models import song. And let's add a related name equal to songs. Okay, and some date, as mentioned before, this is just going to be a date field, and yeah, we won't provide anything inside. And for the active, we are going to write down models boolean field, and let's set the default to be true. Alright, so one last thing is to provide a string representation, and let's return. And what can we return? Let's write self user username, and let's just put in self active. Is the preference active or it's changed over time? So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to head over to the admin, and I'm going to register this. So from.models import preference, and then over here admin site register preference. Alright, so we can save it, and let's jump back to the terminal and Python manage py make migrations. Python manage py migrate. Python manage py run server. Alright, so let's refresh, and here are our songs. Okay, but we don't want to add them through the admin. What we want to create is a form, and we will be using a model form for this. So inside the preferences application, let's create FormsPy, and let's begin by importing from Django forms. So from Django import forms, and then we will also need our preference model. So from .models import preference. Okay, and now we can write down class preference model form, and this inherits from forms.model form, and we need to define a class meta with which we will indicate the model. So the model is the preference, and we need to specify the fields, and in our case we want all of them. Okay, so we have our preference form. For now, let's just save this, and let's jump into views. So over here we are going to be using a class-based view, to be more specific, a form view. So let's import this from Django views generic import form view. Okay, and then let's import our form. So from dot forms import preference model form, and now we can specify a class. Let's call it my preference form view, and this inherits from the form view. Okay, so now we need to specify the form class, and this will be simply this preference model form, and we need to specify a template name, and we need to create the templates folder inside the preferences. So templates, and then the next folder will be preferences, okay. And inside the preferences, we are going to create main HTML. So we are going to work on this in just a second, but for now, let's put in over here preferences and main HTML. Okay, so for now, let's finish over here for this views part, and let's jump into main HTML. So what I'm going to do over here is to create the blocks. So, but maybe before we need to, it's good to add the extends. So we need to indicate that we are extending from base HTML, and now we can focus on the blocks that we defined in base HTML. So the first one was block CSS. Then we had the block title. The third one was block content, and the fourth one was block scripts. Okay, so I'm not going to put in block CSS or block scripts just yet. I just want to create an ordinary form with the action of blank and the method equals to post. And let's close it off over here. Let's add a CSRF token since we are using a post method, and let's display this form how it is. However, this won't work just yet because we need to fix some issues with the URLs. So we actually need to set the URLs. And yeah, I'm just going to create over here a URLs file, URLs.py file, and let's import from Django URLs import path, and then from .views import, how did we name this view? My preference form view. Okay, so we need to import it. My preferences form view, and then we need to set the URL patterns. Also, I'm going to provide an app name, and I'm just going to put in preferences, and let's set the path to be just blank, and over here my preference form view. And since we are using class-based views, we need to remember to put this as view, and then the name will be form, or just my preference view, something like this, or my preference add view. All right, so and over here we can do this add. So we are actually adding a preference. All right, so right now what we need to do is to jump to the main URLs.py file inside of our main project folder. And over here we need to include this path that we defined for the preferences in the main project. So over here, let's import include, and let's define a new path. And this is going to be preferences, and then let's include, and we need to go to preferences and then the URLs. So preferences.urls, and let's write a namespace that has to match the app name defined in the URLs.py, so preferences. All right, so now we can save it. The server is running, however we have some errors I can see. Okay, so over here we have an issue in the URLs.py. I made a typo. Now I'm going to save it, and everything should be working. So now we need to go to URLs, preferences, and then add. Okay, so if we just do it like this, nothing will work. We need to go to preferences and then add. And we still get page not found. So what I'm going to do is to, and okay, I forgot a dash over here, slash over here. So let's try this out again. And it seems to be working. However, we don't see anything, and we should actually see a form. So what I'm going to do next is to go to main HTML and put in an h1 my preferences addition, something like this. Let's refresh, and over here we see this form. So now to have it look a little bit better, what we can do is to add SP as paragraph, so it will be looking a little bit better, but still this isn't what we wanted to achieve. So let's bring this styling. I'm going to begin with the block CSS, and I'm just going to put this code over here. And then the JavaScript part I'm going to put in the block scripts. Okay, and we need to also load materialize CSS, and this will go all the way at the top but below the extend space HTML. This has to go first. And finally we can use this materialize CSS filter. So let's delete this form SP and let's use this filter. And I left a dot. I'm just going to delete it. I'm going to save it. Let's hit refresh, and here is our form. So I think we can agree that it looks much nicer. Okay, so the next step is to add a button so we can actually submit this form, and I'm going to change the name. I made a typo over here and I really don't like it. It sounds terrible, so I'm just going to write down maybe something like music preferences, or my music preferences. All right, so as mentioned before, let's add a button next. So type will have to be a submit in order to submit this form, and the class will be waves effect, waves light, and then let's make it a large button, so btn large. The name will be send, and let's close up this button. Let's save, refresh, and here is our button. So I'm just going to add a break line. Okay, it looks better in my opinion, but we won't be able to use this form just yet. We won't be able to save records to the database just yet because we need to still specify a get success URL method and also a form valid method. So we will do it in just a second, but for now let's jump into the documentation, and here we have some note about date time field and the input formats. So maybe we will need to do some adjustments. However, we are using a date field, not a date time field. So we will see if it works or not. And if it doesn't work, we will specify an input format. All right, so yeah, let's jump back into Visual Studio Code and let's head over to the views. And over here, we are going to specify and override get success URL method, which takes in self, and we want to return self request path. So we want to stay basically in the same path. Okay, we will be redirected to the same page. The next thing is the form valid method, and this takes in self and form. And for now, let's just put in form save. and then we need to return super and then form valid form. So let's add another one, and this will be form invalid, and it also takes in self and form, and we will do something later as well as for the form valid and form invalid, but for now just let's return and then super and this time form invalid form. Okay, so let's save this, let's refresh, and let's try to save something. Luke Sky Walker, some bio, he likes songs 1 and 2, and then let's select a date and let's send. Okay, so let's check if this actually has been saved. So I'm going to open up the admin, songs, and sorry, not songs, but preferences, and here it is. So this actually works. So we don't need to worry about the date field. This is all right. Okay, so what we would like to do next is to have a confirmation that the record has been added, or if it hasn't been added, we would like to display something like oops, something didn't work, or stuff like that. So we can do it starting from our views, and maybe we can start this time from the form invalid. Over here we can write down form, and we want to add an error, and this one won't be a field error, so we need to write down none, and let's just put in oops, something went wrong. Okay, so now we can save this, and let's jump into FormsPy, where we are going to do a custom validation for one of the fields. So just going to modelspy for just a second. Yeah, I'm going to select maybe the first name or maybe the bio. So yeah, let's go now back to FormsPy, and over here what we need to do is to define a new method inside the preference model form, and we need to write down clean and then specify the field that we want to clean. So in our case it will be bio, and this takes in a self. So I'm going to write bio, and this will be a variable which will store self cleaned data get and bio. And now I can write down if bio, or actually length of bio, is smaller than, for example, 10, then I want to return, or not return, actually raise validation error, which we need to import. So from Django core exceptions, import validation error, and yeah, I'm going to put it over here, and yeah, let's just write the bio is too short. Okay, so we can return bio, and now we can actually save this, refresh, and let's try this out. Again, Luke and Skywalker, and then the bio will be, I'm just going to put in some. Okay, I'm going to select one song and some date and send. And as you can see, oops, something went wrong and the bio is too short. So the bio is too short is coming from over here, okay, clean bio, and then oops, something went wrong is coming from our views.py from the form invalid method. All right, so this is working. We can do it the same, for example, for the first name. We can go to FormsPy, and we can simply copy this, paste it, and this time it won't be clean bio, it will be clean first name, and then over here we need to get the first name, and let's set a variable to name, and then if name is, for example, shorter than 2, we are going to raise a validation error. The name or the first name is too short. So let's save this and let's try this out. We have an issue over here. Okay. Some indentation stuff. It sometimes happens when you copy and paste. Okay, let's save it. Let's try it out. And I'm going to press send, and we have, oops, something went wrong. The first name is too short and the bio is too short. So if I put some bio, send, the first name is still too short. Okay, so this is working. So the last thing that I want to do is to display a message when the record is actually saved in the database. And for this we need to return to FormsPy, and we need to do something in the form valid. So first of all, I'm going to import messages. So from Django contrib import messages, and I'm going to use them below the form save. So messages, and then we need to add a message, and since we are using class-based views, we need to remember to put in as the first parameter self request, and then we want to specify the type. So in our case it will be info, and the last parameter is just the message itself. So let's just write saved successfully. Alright, so we can save this, but we need to jump back into our main HTML because we need to provide some code for us to actually display the messages. So first of all, we are going to check if the messages exist. Then the next step will be to do a for loop, and we can do it by simply writing for message in messages, and then we want to display only the info type, so we can write an if statement and then info in and then message tags. And if this is the case, we can use some styling for the materialize framework, from the materialize framework. And let's just write div class is equal to card and dash panel, and let's make it green and lighten 2. And in this card we are going to display the message, and then let's close it off. Okay, so hopefully I didn't make any typo. Let's try this out. I'm going to save it, return, refresh. Just put anything over here. All right, and the date. And let's make it not active this time. Let's press send, and no bio, name bio is not defined. And this is forms cleaned. Let's jump into forms. And okay, we have return bio over here. It should be return name. So let's save this and let's try this out again. Some name, last name. I'm just going to put anything over here and select some date. and I don't want this to be active. Send, and there it is, saved successfully. So if we go over here to our preferences in the admin, refresh, here is our object. So this is working. Alright guys, I'm going to finish off over here. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you made it through. If you liked it, please subscribe to the channel, and we will see each other in the next one. Take care and bye bye.